blood.
It's an incredible coincidence that I happened to marry somebody with the name of Lawless. And I remember being in the supermarket, I remember the moment actually where I thought, oh, my career, you know, with a name like Lucy Lawless, they're never going to take me seriously. And then eventually I just thought, God, should I be so lucky to be in that position where people are forced to pay any attention to my name anyway. So here I am, and it has been a great, it's ear-catching anyway. It is such a great name, and it's my daughter's name, so it would seem unkind and foolish to change it. I like it. It suits me.
My very first idea about being a filmmaker was probably when I was in high school. I read the book The Exorcist and thought, what a great movie this would make. And that was kind of the first insight into reading something and then seeing it later visualized and thinking it was great. And then I made like slide movies in high school. It wasn't until college that I actually got involved in filmmaking. I had no idea when I was in college that I would end up a producer. I enjoyed movies. I took movie classes. It was only once my roommate at the time, his younger brother came up to school, who I was roommates with Ivan Raimi, and his younger brother Sam Raimi came up to school, and we made a Super 8 movie at that time that was an hour long, The Happy Valley Kid, story of a student driven mad. And that kind of gave me the first taste. And then Sam and myself and his friend Bruce Campbell, after making a couple more Super 8 movies, said, geez, we're ready to go make a feature, and dropped out of college and raised a small amount of money to go make a horror film. So,
I had been working on some television movies. Actually, I had just finished a couple period pieces. One was a television movie for the Hallmark Hall of Fame. And then I worked on another period piece, which was funny, the Walt Disney film Huckleberry Finn. So I guess I was used to not being a part of the sort of modern world, which helped then going into Gabrielle. As an actor, it was ideal because you had an opportunity to play every sort of style that you could ever imagine. So no, if anything, it was much bigger and broader than I thought it would have been as a challenge as an actor. Yeah, no, we covered everything. I loved all the fight scenes. Literally, I could fight all day. But I just loved the ability to be able to take these different weapons and not be great at them, but actually perform them enough that I could, you know, do a little bit of damage if I wanted to, which is kind of scary because, you know, you don't want me with a weapon and hurting somebody. But no, I just loved the element of the choreography and the dance that you had with another person. I guess my background is dance as well, so it just made sense that this was all part of expressing yourself. Now that I've got so many weird skills now, like bull whips and nunchucks and staff fighting and things I'll never use again, but it's kind of fun.
You know, I was never particularly athletic or never good at sports. Still not too, I'm better because Xena kind of smashed me into shape, but I'm not interested. I don't want to do martial arts classes. I don't want to do any of that stuff. So it was a shock to me every day when they'd go, Lucy, you fight something. I'd go, you're kidding. Haven't we done with the fights yet? You know, can't you just cut them together or something? I think it was a survival mechanism in me that I would just, immediately the fight was over, I would forget about it. And every time they'd tell me my fight was up, I would just go and do it and try to get it over with as quickly as possible. Be as good as you can, because then the pain will be over sooner. But people always think I'm really into that stuff, and I'm totally bewildered by it. Zero interest.
We were incredibly fortunate with Xena. I had forever and a day wanted to make a female superhero show, and I could only see Wonder Woman, and couldn't figure out what it was. And then I had seen some Hong Kong movies and went, well, I know how to make a really great woman villainous. And so I showed it to the head writer on Herc at the time and said we should do some stuff like this, and he totally got it. And so the idea of Xena was really an evil character, Hercules' nemesis.
Come back later.
But Hercules is here.
Hercules?
He must have followed us.
Why would he do that?
Perhaps he doesn't trust me with you.
He shouldn't.
Or maybe he doesn't think you're man enough to help me.
I think we shot those in early January of 1995, and within 2 weeks of finishing the first episode on a 3-episode arc, the studio came to us and said, and Hercules hadn't even gone on the air yet, literally. The series was coming on the end of January, and the studio saw the first rough cut and said, that's a much more compatible show to go with Hercules than what we currently have. We'd like to do it as a series, and it took another 2 months to get that cemented. At that time, my partner Sam had just been involved in The Quick and the Dead, which was Sharon Stone as a gunfighter. And certainly there hadn't been any successful female action shows or action movies that had worked. So Sam worked very hard on the original first episode of Xena, came up with ideas about the father and the family and those kind of things, but was never, I don't think, as sold initially on the idea that it could be like Hercules. And it took a year and an entirely different crowd to come and see Xena than was watching Hercules.
Doesn't it make more sense that I should learn how to defend myself? I think it makes more sense.
Don't confuse defending yourself with using a weapon. When you pull a sword, you have to be ready to kill.
You don't think I know that?
No, I don't think you do.
Lucy ended up as Xena through a whole series of, by default. At that time, Universal Television was making a series called Weird Science with the star Vanessa Angel. And they happened to have a hiatus during January and early February. And one of our executives said, could you please use Vanessa Angel, because she's very promotable and a fine actress in her own right, in Hercules as this evil warrior woman? And we went, sure, very attractive woman. She had actually come in to audition for us on one of the early Herc movies. And then December 29th, I got a call from her manager saying, Vanessa's trapped in London, she's sick as a dog, she can't fly, and she's gonna have to pull out of that part. And we went, oh my God, what are we gonna do? It's impossible to cast, and we had to start shooting. So we kind of scrambled, and we had used Lucy in the previous episode of Hercules, and I made a bunch of calls to women who I had worked with prior to that and said, do you want to go down and do this part? And they said no. And finally I called Eric Grundeman, who was the producer down here in New Zealand, and said, Eric, how about finding Lucy and see if she can do it? Because she had, and I told the studio, because they didn't know they were doing a Xena series. It was just for a 3-episode arc. And they went, yeah, well, you just used her. And we said, well, we'll dye her hair black. They went, okay, I guess, yeah, fine, because on basically December 31st, nobody from America was going to get on a plane and fly to New Zealand to be in Hercules, the syndicated show. So they found Lucy off camping somewhere, and the rest was history. So everything came together. The person the studio had asked us to cast as Xena and Hercules fell out. Lucy fell in. It never would have worked with anybody else, or it would have been very difficult with anyone else in the league to pull that off. And to have the dedication and the hours of work over 6 years, she and Renee really made that show work.
Estragon!
Is this what you do to all your warriors, Xena?
Only those who don't follow my code.
I will always remember the day that I got the part of Xena. It was a 3-episode arc on Hercules, a show that hadn't screened yet. It was still its first season. We were travelling around New Zealand, my husband, my little daughter and I, completely incommunicado. And we were staying like at my my sister-in-law's place, and my brother happened to be picking up his mail at my parents' empty house, and he picked up the phone. He answered the phone, and it was the casting agent saying, is this the house of the parents of Lucy Lawless? And my brother said, yeah. Well, where is she?
I had been in Los Angeles, I guess, about for 6 years, working pretty steadily in television and some feature films, and had this audition to play a character on the television movie for Hercules. So I went in, had a callback, and then I remember meeting Rob and basically auditioning for him. He's such a wonderful, warm man with a sense of humor. Thank God, because I think I ruined all of his camera equipment by bumping into it and knocking it down. So that was my introduction to Rob. And yeah, and then he has this, for some reason, he has this ability to think that I can pull off different types of roles, because he just became this, like, I guess I call him my champion, because he kept giving me these opportunities I had never had before to play different types of characters. Because I'm not really the feisty type of person, and yet he saw that in me. It's really interesting.
Think you're man enough to test my blade, do you? Your type are all cowards. I've met and defeated tens of hundreds of your type. So come on, make your move. Or are you waiting for me to make the first move? First mistake? Well, that's your first mistake, waiting for my mistake, because I don't make mistakes. Ah!
Then he put me in another part on his sequel to Darkman, which was going straight to video, which was playing a stripper. And again, I'm actually pretty modest, you know, and I thought, oh no, Rob, I can't do this. I can't take off my clothes, you know, I can't, you know, play that. But he just stuck me in the part, and I can't say I did a great job either, but again, it was an opportunity to do something for Rob. And then Xena came, and I think he always had me in mind, but that Rob had a lot of resistance from the studio in wanting someone that was younger to play the part. And so he just persevered through all the auditioning processes that, you know, I went to. And eventually it worked out, you know, thank God.
Go away! You're interrupting a religious ceremony.
Yeah, well, if you're sacrificing yourself to the water god, he's not home. You're wasting your time.